Most people think supercars are the fastest things on the road. They're wrong. From a stoplight, these motorcycles hit so hard that Ferraris don't even get a chance. Today, we're counting down 10 bikes that launch harder than supercars. Real-world machines you can actually buy and ride. Let's start at number 10. Number 10, Kawasaki Ninja Z X14R ZZR 1400. This is brutal acceleration that feels effortless, and it stays stable when the speed climbs. We crack the throttle, and it punches with clean force, making plenty of supercars feel sleepy off the line. The long wheelbase and 6-speed box keep it smooth at cruise and stable when we roll on hard mid-corner with calm steering. The engine is about 1,441 cubic centimeters, and it has a reliable, solid vibe when our upkeep stays simple. Owners regularly report 100,000 miles on the original guts because the motor is durable and the rhythm is routine. Parts are abundant, dealer support is strong, and the owner forums keep troubleshooting quickly when something feels off on a trip. One rider said, "It's a glorious beast, and every rider deserves to have such an experience." However, if you end up buying the ZX14R as your first bike, you're going to be disproportionately more likely to have it as your last bike as well. On the used market, prices for clean riders usually land around $7,000 to $10,000, while premium low-mile examples can reach $12,000 to $15,000, and resale stays strong if paperwork is tidy. Seat height sits near 31½ inches, and the cockpit has enough comfort to feel secure even during swift pulls, for our backs too. The tank holds about 5 8/10 gallons. Economy runs in the low 30s to mid-30s miles per gallon, and range stays realistic until we get tempted. The only drawback is weight at walking pace, where tight turns feel awkward and the steering feels heavier than you expect. If you love the stable top-end rush but want more low RPM torque and true 2-up comfort, the next pick flips the whole mood. What is the fastest bike you ever owned? Let us know in the comments. Number 9, Triumph Rocket 3 GT. Torque hits harder than our brain expects, and the bike stays peaceful and stable once we loosen our grip. That huge triple is about 2,458 cc, tuned under stressed, and it delivers reliable thrust from idle without feeling twitchy. The reputation is strong for long runs when routine service is kept up, and Triumph's parts pipeline keeps ownership fairly simple. On the used market, clean riders with records usually land $12,000 to $15,000, while premium trims with low miles can climb near 20. The seat height sits around 29½ inches, so stops feel confident, and the GT pad is plush enough for 2-up. The tank is about 4 3/4 gallons. Real-world mileage often lands in the low 30s to high 30s miles per gallon, so we plan 150 to 190 mile legs. Shaft drive keeps things clean and quiet, and the chassis stays planted when the road gets rough. Valve service is not cheap, but it is known work, and most shops have the tools. The downside is, honest, the mass feels heavier at parking lot pace, and that wide rear tire can be pricey when you ride it like you mean it. If this torque made you grin, the next bike goes lighter, sharper, and more precise, with a track-bred hit that still feels usable. Number 8, Aprilia Tuono V4 Factory. Crack the throttle and the surge feels supercar quick, but the feedback stays precise and sharper than most naked bikes. The V4 is about 1,077 cc, and it spins with smooth fury that makes on-ramps feel like a drag strip. Electronics do the heavy lifting here. Traction control, wheel control, and quick shifting keep things controlled when the road is less than perfect. Braking stays strong, and the chassis feels stable mid-corner. Reliability is solid when we stay disciplined, keep fresh oil, keep coolant happy, and treat the battery like it matters. Used pricing sits in a tight window. Clean examples usually land $13,000 to $16,000, and pristine factory bikes can press $19,000. Seat height is around 32½ inches, so it feels taller at stops, yet the bar reach is relaxed once rolling. One rider shared, "Fantastic bike. Good points: noise, handling, wheelies, looks." Did I mention the wheelies? And the sound? The tank is about 5 gallons. Real-world mileage often lands in the high 20s to mid-30s miles per gallon, so range is adequate, not huge. Traffic can get heated, and the motor can feel toasty on summer days, especially when the fans kick on. Maintenance also asks for respect, skip checks, and it can get expensive fast, but stay on it, and the bike rewards you. If you love the speedy punch but want more all-day comfort, the next one keeps the shove and adds upright touring manners. Number 7, BMW S 𝐏𝐄𝐑 XR. One twist and it feels like a sport bike hiding behind a tall screen. With comfort and controlled power we can actually use. The inline 4 is about 999 cubic centimeters, and the pull is smooth and strong from mid-range to redline. When maintenance is kept on schedule, the platform has a reliable record, and BMW's dealer network keeps parts access fairly simple. Earlier bikes with miles usually run 10 to 13,000, while newer, higher spec examples can climb 16 to 20. Seat height is around 33 inches, so shorter inseams feel taller, but the cockpit is relaxed and roomy once moving. The tank is about 5¼ gallons, and real-world mileage often lands in the high 30s to mid-40s miles per gallon, so range is solid. Passing on the highway feels effortless, and the bike stays stable when crosswinds try to push us around. Add cruise and luggage, and it becomes a legit mile eater for tired wrists. It is a chain drive, so lube is normal and adjustment stays simple. Brakes feel strong, and anti-lock modes keep panic moments calmer today. The only catch is windy noise if the screen is wrong, so comfort depends on getting that setup right. If this upright speedy feel fits your body, the next pick flips the vibe. Low and long, still quick, and built to launch savage. What matters more for you, comfort or speedy punch? Comment your pick and tell us why today, honestly. Number 6, Ducati 𝐾𝐑 S. From a stop, it feels like a cruiser that learned street fighting, with torque and drama that makes supercars look confused. The engine is about 1,262 cubic centimeters, and it pulls smooth and strong while the belt drive stays quiet. Reliability is solid when we respect the service book, especially the valve checks, and when the bike is kept on a good battery tender. Part support is strong, but planning matters because some items are pricey and wait times can feel longer. Most clean owner bikes usually land 15 to 18,000, while high-spec, low-mile examples can reach 22. Seat height sits around 29.5 inches, and the stretch-out ergos feel relaxed, but the forward pegs can feel limiting in tight corners. Top speed of Ducati 𝐾𝐑 S. The tank is about 4¾ gallons, and real-world mileage often lands mid-30s to low 40s miles per gallon, so range is decent. We buy it for style, yet it feels practical on highways. Surprisingly steady. Launches are quick, traction control keeps things orderly, and the chassis stays stable when we feed power in early. The trade-off is honest. Rear tires disappear rapidly, and the motor can run warmer in slow traffic. If you want the same straight-line attitude with less tech and more nostalgia, the next bike brings old-school muscle and a hammer hit. Number 5, Yamaha VMAX 1700. This is the muscle bike that makes grown riders laugh inside their helmets because the launch feels brutal and smooth at the same time. The volume is about 1,679 cubic centimeters, and the shove is strong enough to pull our arms straight without any drama. It has a tough reputation when kept mostly stock. Fuel injection stays reliable, and the shaft drive keeps life simple. Most rider-grade bikes usually land 9 to 12,000, while collector clean survivors can push 15 and beyond. Seat height sits around 30.5 inches, and the seat is plush, but the reach to the bars can feel longer for shorter torsos. The tank is about 4 gallons, and real-world mileage often lands in the high 20s to low 30s miles per gallon, so we plan stops earlier. Maintenance is straightforward. Watch tires, brakes, and fluids, and keep the battery healthy if it sits. Parts are simple to find, and the community knowledge is huge for keeping these bikes running. Weight is heavier at low speed, but once rolling, it feels planted and the pull stays consistent always. The downside is honest, range is short, and that wide rear tire becomes pricey when we do too many hero launches. If you love this nostalgia hit, the next bike adds modern chassis, control, and touring comfort while still punching like a rocket. If you're buying with your own money, tap like and hit subscribe so we keep you away from regrets forever. Number 4, KTM 1290 Super Duke GT. Torque hits like a thunderclap, yet the whole ride stays controlled and stable, so we can enjoy the shove instead of just hanging on. Under us is the KTM 1290 Super Duke GT, packing a 1,301cc V-twin that feels savage and smooth the second we roll into the power. It carries touring comfort and real wind help, but it still snaps forward with brutal, roady urgency when the light turns green. Reliability can be solid and reliable if we stay disciplined with oil, coolant, and scheduled checks, because this motor does not forgive lazy ownership. The good news is, parts support feels massive and available, and the aftermarket stays strong, so screen seats and luggage fixes are easy to find. Used pricing is where the value shows, because clean riders from the sweet years usually run $9,000 to $12,000, while premium low-mile examples can reach $15,000 or more. Exhaust sound of KTM 1290, Super Duke GT, seat height is about 32.9 inches. The tank holds about 6.1 gallons, and mileage lands around 35 to 45 miles per gallon, giving normal, steady range. The downside is the attitude, because the power delivery can feel aggressive and demanding, and riding tense turns a fun day into a tiring day. Still, when we want a big launch with real comfort, this bike feels special and useful, and it stays stable even when the road is rough. If we like torque first punch, the next pick goes sharper and lighter, with quicker steering and a different kind of instant hit. Number 3, Triumph Speed, Triple 1200 RS. The front goes lighter right away, and the bike feels eager and precise the instant we roll on in second gear. The Speed Triple 1200 RS uses an 1160cc triple that delivers smooth, quick drive with strong mid-range punch. Throttle response feels crisp, the chassis stays stable, and the brakes stay confident when we push hard into a corner. It's a practical rocket because the power is usable and the bike stays balanced when traffic gets weird and tight. Reliability is solid when service stays timely, and that steady care keeps ownership reliable instead of random. Parts and advice are massive and available, and routine work stays simple if we keep a clean maintenance rhythm. Used pricing makes sense because clean riders usually land $11,000 to $14,000, while premium low-mile listings can reach $16,000 or more. Height is about 32.5 inches. The tank is about 4.1 gallons, and mileage runs 35 to 45 mpg for solid range. The downside is wind, because highway air feels windy and minimal on long rides unless we add a taller screen. If we love this sharper street feel, the next pick goes plusher in posture and still yanks harder from a stop. What's your highest mileage on one engine, and was it ever reliable, or did it get expensive today? Number 2, Ducati DIAVL V4. The launch feels unreal, but the riding position stays comfort-focused and controlled, so we can enjoy the moment instead of fighting it. The Ducati DIAVL V4 uses an 1158cc V4, and the pull is smooth and violent as it stacks speed in a blink. Electronics are smart, so traction and wheelie control keep the Surge usable and stable when the pavement is cold, dusty, or crowned. Reliability can be strong, but it comes from planning, because this bike wants timely checks, good fluids, and a rider who pays attention. Service access is decent for the class, yet parts and appointments matter, so we treat it like a premium machine, not a bargain toy. Used pricing usually lands in a value spot, with lightly used examples running $18,000 to $22,000, while loaded trims push higher. Height is about 31.1 inches, the tank is about 5.3 gallons, and we see 32 to 40 miles per gallon for decent range. Off the line, it hits with torque and grip, and the chassis feels planted, so the shove feels bigger than the numbers suggest. The downside is consumables, because tires and brakes get expensive, and that big rear rubber disappears fast if we chase launches daily. 2 up, it can feel plusher than it looks, and it stays stable at highway pace, which keeps the whole package more usable. Next is the true supercar headache with a brutal launch and a top-end monster that keeps pulling long after sanity quits. If you love instant acceleration but want reliable ownership, smash like, then subscribe, and ride with us next week too. Number 1, Ducati Street Fighter V4S. It feels like a slingshot off the line, with instant response and violent shove that steals our breath. The Ducati Street Fighter V4S runs an 1103cc V4, and it feels savage yet surgical when we crack the throttle. Rider aids are smart, so the bike stays usable and composed when traction changes, which keeps real-world launches safer and cleaner. Ergonomics are more upright than a full superbike, so comfort is possible, and the bars feel natural for quick steering inputs. To keep ownership reliable, we stay timely on service, keep fluids fresh, and keep the battery healthy during downtime. Parts and support are strong, but planning matters, because this is a premium Ducati and the best shops book ahead. Used pricing usually starts around $18,000 to $22,000 for clean riders, while pristine examples can reach $24,000 to $28,000. Height is about 33.3 inches, tank is about 4.5 gallons, and mileage runs 28 to 35 mpg for range. In traffic, it runs heating hot, and it can feel thirsty, so slow crawls are not where it feels happiest. Tire life can get shorter fast because the torque is brutal, and a heavy right wrist turns rear rubber into a weekly budget. At speed, it feels planted and stable, so passing power stays confident and the front stays light without feeling sloppy. The downside is attention, because this bike demands focus and respect, and it punishes sloppy throttle with surprise speed. Still, the payoff is pure power delivery, because the lightweight feel and direct response make most supercar launches look sleepy. That's why these 10 machines beat most supercar launches, with lightweight punch and direct response that hits before drivers even blink. Comment on which one you'd buy with your own money, and tell us if value or speed matters more right now. Click the next video for more truth rides, smart picks, and reliable ownership tips. Then subscribe so you never miss our 𝐏𝐑 RT and Speed Talk. Drop a comment, which bike would you ride tomorrow, and what's your wildest launch story?